I always have a bit of a panic attack on this last morning because I think of all that I haven't been able to. And then I actually spend my time pacing upstairs thinking, Jesus, Mary Joseph. All right. No, I'm not kidding you. It sounds like it's funny, but it's not. It's not funny for me. And I have to go through all that I have yet to teach and what I think are the most significant things, because there's no way I can actually get the whole thing into you. But what would be the most important thing? What would I want to know? What do I think would be most useful in the last couple of hours we have left? And what is most important for me to teach you is about you actually understanding that you can sense your soul and how to get that and how to actually sense your soul and to become aware of that. Now, this is where you have to practice. Everything is earned. Do you understand that? Everything is earned. Everything is a practice. Everything is a discipline. I don't like that word discipline, but everything is, here's the word, devotion. Everything is a devotion. And so it's like the difference, as I explained our first day together, between me walking into your energy system and you going, and having an electrical reaction, and then me lying to you and having a visceral gut reaction. The difference in your gut, where you feel assaulted at some level that's indescribable, but real, more real than anything in the physical world. You're now into the dimension of all that is actually more real, because everything in the physical world can burn in front of your eyes and disappear, but that won't disappear. It will never disappear, because this now is a truth serum, but everything in the physical world is an illusion. So it can burn, shift, but this won't. In the same way that if you said to me, I am ill, and I said, let's pray together, and some grace goes into you, and you can't see it, you will never see grace. It's a mystical substance that is not definable by your mind that wants to capture it. And the reason your mind wants to capture it is so it can control it. And don't you ever think you'll be given the gears to grace. So it evades your mind. It slips through your mind like a mist through a cheesecloth. You are not allowed to control heavenly forces, ever. But you can always ask for them, and they come the moment you ask. So you ask for a healing, and someone puts their hands over your head and says, let's pray together. And a grace comes into you, and you feel something you don't ordinarily feel. Is it your imagination? Maybe it's your holy imagination. You don't know. But something, a light you are not used to being in, a vibration you're unaccustomed to, comes into you that fast. And it has the force, the authority. The light has the authority to transform the content of your cell tissue, to erase a lower level of your cell tissue and replace it with a speed of light that your ordinary cell tissue is unaccustomed to sensing. And in that second, you feel high, because it is a high. It's an actual high. It's an actual high. It is timelessness meeting time. And you suddenly feel like you are ecstatic. It's an ecstasy. It is what Teresa of Avila calls God getting into the walls of your soul for a second. Just a second. You don't need much. You don't need a long experience of holiness. 1 microsecond outruns 10 years of misery. The mustard seed versus the mountain baby. Jesus wasn't kidding, okay? All you need is one dose of this light. And here, let me give you a real good example of something you can relate to. Imagine that you were born and raised in a filthy, smoky, dirty dungeon. But that's all you know. So for you, it's like normal. And you think this is what the atmosphere is. This filthy, dirty, putrid atmosphere. And one day, you see this corridor and you think, what's this? And you go walking down the corridor and you see this little door and you think, what is this? And you open it up and you find yourself for 1 second. 1 second is all you get. Blue sky, clear air, a gorgeous garden, and you go. And for the first time ever in your life, you smell fragrance, air, light. And you go, and your whole body goes into a craving you have never experienced, a height, a light, like, and then the door shuts. And now you go this. Now you have contrast. For the first time you experience contrast. For the first time you experience altitude. For the first time you experience something indescribable, cosmic altitude, and you have to go back to dense. And someone says, where have you been? And you're like, someone says, where have you been? Describe it. Go ahead, describe it. They don't know the color blue. They don't know fresh air. They don't know holy air. They don't know that altitude. You don't know that altitude. So you don't even have the words for it. So you have to, your whole consciousness has to go, because you didn't even know that existed. Where did heaven just take you? But for that microsecond, and I do mean microsecond, your whole life was just transformed, because you know you were someplace that is more spectacular than any place you'll ever be on earth. More real, more spectacular, more, oh my God, wow. And what that does is it recalibrates your compass. So what happens is that this world gets recalibrated to that microsecond. It's not the other way around. It's not the other way around. That microsecond, that microdose has the power to reorient this world. And what happens is every person you see, you start seeing through that microdose of light and love. Every single person. You think, oh wow, if I could only take you there. Oh wow, every human being suddenly really does look like some kind of God force. They don't look like a human anymore. And sometimes you think, I wish I could just human you because you're boring me. But it's too late. It's too late. And everything they're struggling with, instead of you becoming impatient, you have compassion and you don't even want it. And you go, Christ, I liked my old self better. But it's the truth. Huh? Right. You've said it. Yeah. It's easier. It's easier to be impatient and judgmental, but it's not. And you know what I think? I think that this is why we sabotage ourselves, is because we don't want to get this. But when you get it, you realize it really is the most beautiful thing ever in life, is to realize this, is to realize wholeness, is to actually realize wholeness. And to realize if you put that, when that wiring is animated, you realize, I have so much power. This is what power is. This is what your highest potential is. This is it. And then you send light on your wires. You send grace and light on your wires. Now, what is this? This is that. the impersonal design of your holy anatomy, your sacred anatomy, your inner net, our collective net, all the power you have that you cannot see, that is more real than anything, than all your screaming and yelling and all this nonsense. This is the morass we have to get ourselves through, that you think is so important. That you think is so important. This is how you lose your power. This is how you get your power. That's the mystery and paradox of life. All the power you need to run your life, you cannot see. You need grace, you need energy, you need love, you need oxygen, you need stamina. All the power that actually runs you, you cannot see. You cannot see. Is all the power that actually makes you alive and thrive. You need endurance. Believe me, if you lost your dignity, if you lost your respect, if you lost your sense of balance, if you lost your sense of what power is, if you lost your capacity to give your word and keep it, I promise you, the next thing you would be is depressed. You'd have anxiety attacks. Why? Because you would be diminishing your sense of power. And you would have so many, if you could see yourself, you'd look like Swiss cheese. You'd have so many access points in you for the psychic free radicals in the world. And you would just be accessed by all this energy, all these literally floating psychic free radicals. When people do things like this and have these negative judgments, even that, where do you think that goes? That spins off. It may not have a direct target, but it spins off. It spins off. All right, come up here. This world. This is the law of creation, and energy is destined to become matter. Right? And you have these trash books like The Secret, right? That says, all you got to do is think, red shoes, gold, I want this, right? I mean, and it's like the psychic greed shopping book. It's like psychic QVC. Ugh. All right. Are you getting my opinion? Huh?
You're mad.
Yeah, right. And what a use of you. Someone asked me what's the difference between your psyche, your spirit, your soul. To use your energy to go shopping. To think that you're here to be a shopologist and a stuffologist. When people say things like, oh, look, my angel helped me get a parking space. Really? You want such an amateur angel that's what you think that's a big task? Gee, well, Jesus, wow, God, oh God. You don't know what you're talking about. Okay. You don't get how you work if you think that the whole purpose of your co-creative self is to go shopping and to get stuff. You don't understand spirituality. It's not about getting, it's about not needing. What is the spiritual journey? To be in the world but not of the world, and every great master tells you that. Because if you think it's about getting and having stuff, which is why these evangelicals are so full of garbage. You can have everything you want. No, they want everything they want, and they want your money for it. It's about your capacity to not be owned by anything. Not by your wounds, not by your stuff, not by the need for approval, so that you actually, and if you get that, then you are free to love everybody the way you want. You're free to have whatever you want, to create the way you want, because you don't run it through, what will they say? What will they say? What will they say if they find out I'm a medical intuitive? What will they say? What will they say if they know that I'm sensing illness? What will they say? Thank God I'd never cared. But what if you cared? What if you thought, what if your inner sensory system here, your higher self, starts activating and animating? How many times people have said to me, I thought I was crazy. I thought you were crazy. I took the other route, which is when I was a baby intuitive, and I could sense things. It never occurred to me, never once, not once, that I was seeing things wrong. You were. I had such an outrageous dose of holy titanium self-esteem. It never occurred to me that the world that I was living in, this bubble of whatever you want to call it, that I had the score wrong. I thought, this is the way you're supposed to see and hear and guidance. What's the matter with you that you can't? And now that I'm 70, I still haven't been wrong about it. I'm the one that had the roadmap. It was accurate. I'm not going to use the word right. It's not about right or wrong. It was accurate. It was accurate. And you're going to get on that road, so help me. What's your question? Oh, God, this damn thing. Do you know there was a party in here last night? Yeah. Gotta hand it to those guys.
Thank you. I was just wondering if this might be a time to ask if you could speak about finding community and communion at the higher levels.
What does that mean when you put the phrase at the higher level?
I'm thinking about...
Because I know my idea of community. What's yours?
Well, it's a little bit open, but where the question's coming from is thinking about how often I think a lot of us will go back down to the tribal level in search for connection and community, even though we know over and over again we're not finding it there because the truth is not there. So coming up to a higher level, I think what you had referred to as an impersonal design, those impersonal levels, where do we or how do we, or can you just speak to finding community and communion there and not looking for it where we're not going to find it?
That's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful question. Teresa of Avila noted, so did Ignatius Loyola, and I think probably so did all great masters who are really in the journey of guiding others. One of the classic true teachings is that you really don't go into the territory of your soul unescorted. And the reason is because, or without a companion, what Teresa called soul companion. And so did Ignatius. And the reason is because once you start pursuing what you might think of as, I want to live my life at a deeper level, even if you just use that language, at a more integrous level, you're changing your relationship primarily with yourself. With yourself. And it begins really with you reconstructing your relationship with the whole of your world. So I want you to know that, your soul is involved in every level of your life. So when you walk back into your first level, you're on the ground, but now you're animating your soul here. And what you're saying is, I want to physically engage, and I want to turn on my soul senses here. So what your soul, I want you to imagine that your soul is going to say to you, all right, so let's do some housekeeping here. You don't belong in this house. It doesn't suit me. your deeper, your holy self. It suited your ego self. But I will not thrive. I will not thrive here. So let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. It doesn't work for your holy self. Holy and wholy. The whole of you and the holy you. And so we have to uproot you here. Your ego says, but I love this hood. Now, here's the difference. Your ego said, I can survive here. I feel safe here. Your soul does not operate on safety. All right? You have to understand something. Your soul does not want... Your soul does not sense the world through a value system as to whether or not it is safe because it's indestructible. Okay? So you have a part of you that is indestructible and actually thrives in mystery, and your body senses destruction. Okay, so you're already in paradox. Are you with me? All right, hang on to my tail. So when you walk into a setting, your ego will say, are you physically safe here? And I want you to imagine your soul looking around and saying, I need to sense this. Is it sacred? Is there evil? Now your 5 senses may not be able to perceive evil. And evil is a very real element. And we haven't discussed it, so let's introduce it. Evil is a very real element. It is a darkness. And you want this column up here. You are able to recognize that the 2 creative elements of life are light and shadow, light and darkness, sun and moon, and that these elements convert to angelic, demonic, and it goes on and on. I don't want to go into all of these, but God, is it interesting. All right, and it comes down into how do these forces work within you, within us? If you're so silly as to get down here and say, I only believe in sunshine, explain the moon. Don't be ridiculous. This is a world that's divided into polarities. Even in the archetypal world, we refer to the shadow. The shadow. The shadow side of us. And because we've spent decades denying the shadow, it's had free reign. I give you the world. We deny darkness, and so it's, I remember when I was in college, I came home. There was an article in the Chicago Tribune right on the front page. I'm from Chicago. And the article was about this man who had been in a satanic cult in Chicago. So he's being interviewed by this reporter, and the reporter, of course, was probably both afraid and then had a smart-ass attitude. And this guy said 2 things that stuck with me forever and always will. And one was that you think this doesn't exist, I can tell. And it's interesting that the reporter put this down. He said, but I can name all these people in this cult and you would recognize every one of them. Because every one of them is famous and power-driven. Number 2, he said, one of the things the demonic world counts on is your arrogance. And instantly, I knew that that is why in all monastic traditions, every one, the first place, and in Teresa's holy way, in Ignatius Loyola, in Teresa's journey into the mansions, the first thing you deal with is your pride. And how you use arrogance and pride to protect you, and your fear of being humble, and that you think that by being humble, you will be destroyed, when in fact it's your greatest protection. It's your greatest protection. It's your greatest protection. Humble doesn't mean poor. It means nothing sticks. What are you going to say that can crush me? What are you going to say? I don't like your sweater. You've gained 10 pounds through COVID. Blah. Yeah. All right. What are you going to say that where I need your approval to feel good about? I cannot give you the power. I cannot give you the power to make me feel good. I cannot relinquish that to you. I cannot give you the power. All right, so when you get into your first chakra and your soul gets in there, your soul's going to do some reshaping of your physical world to benefit what you need, not what you want. It's been designed by what you want. Your ego shops for what you want. I want this, I want this, I want this. Your soul organizes your life by what you need. Your soul says, I have your contract. And you were incarnated to, why were you incarnated? You were not incarnated to shop. It's shocking. I have some of my favorite shopping friends are in this room, but I won't mention any names, my shopping sisters, and it's a hell of a shock to realize we weren't born to shop. No, we were not. We were born to discover the power we have to transform this world, to leave it a better place. That's our footprint. That's our footprint. We were born to discover how much power we have to transform this world and leave it a better place, to leave our soul footprint, our soul imprimatur. And in Catholic speak, it's called your charism. To use your charism, the grace that is uniquely yours, and to shine that grace and to use it. And to use it, to just blast off in grace. To die of creativity. To die creatively exhausted. To die from giving, not taking. To transform everything you touch. What does grace do? The signature of grace is that it has transformed something, a thought, a perception, a mood, a situation. It has taken it from this to something better. Grace is the fairy, heavenly fairy energy that heaven bestows upon you to transform something from this to something better. Like even in this, where you think, I'll never get through this. I'm going to tell you what happened this morning. Can I tell them what happened this morning? Because for me, this was all grace. It was all the activity of grace. The week before, I'd been on a 2-week tour. I taught in Santa Fe and then came here. That's not easy. Okay, it's not easy. It's not the hardest thing in the world. Look at this, but you know what I'm saying. But right before I came, I had a flood in my house. Okay, so I had a flood, and I woke up, and I came down to my kitchen, and there was water everywhere. And my first thought, my first thought was, how much water did I put in my coffee pot? That was my first thought. I stood there, I thought, how much water did I put in that thing? And it's how God takes care of fools and little children. Honest to God. And I remember when I was with the nuns in the convent, and they would always say to me, God takes care of fools and little children. And then I looked up and I saw this water. I have these kinds of, ceiling ones, and water pouring through one of them. And I thought, what is that? And then I thought, how crazy is this? Maybe I should have a cup of coffee first. Oh, Jesus, right? And then I go running up the stairs, running down the hall to my guest bath. I open it up and I hear, right? And a pipe had burst that was going into the guest tub. Water everywhere, everywhere. It goes down. All right, so, right, all this water. So all this whole time that I've been on the road, I've been also dealing with insurance, and I had to have these guys come in and tear out the wall of my kitchen and move and I'm the one who hosts everything in my family. Thanksgiving, Christmas, everything. I am the mistress of ceremonies. And, my mom's in a wheelchair. I do it all, right? So everything gets shoved into the dining room, everything. And last night I thought I actually did have an acid reflux attack. I was just so stressed about how am I going to take care of my mom? How am I going to do this? And I hit first chakra Mortalville. And I'm not comfortable there. All right, so I'm going to share this because this is where we go. And when we get to this place, what we do is we think I always think I got to figure this out, and I can't figure it out because I get like, how the hell am I supposed to do this? My language gets very colorful in my head. All right. So then when I got up, and I'm sitting there at 6 a.m. in my hotel room, and I have to focus on you, but I'm not. I'm focused on what I said, Jesus. So I what do you call that? Text. I write an email to the gentleman who's in charge of my case from the insurance company. And I said, you got to help me out. I don't know what to do here, and da-da-da-da, and blah, 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 blah. And then I just sat back, and I said, all right, you got to download me with some grace, because my task today is to teach. Not to worry, not to stress. And honest to God, you better take care of this, because you should have warned me, right? This is how I pray. You want to know how to pray? This is how you pray, right? And then I said, on the other hand, you let it happen while I was home and not on the road. Well done. But, you got to give credit where credit's due. I let that letter go. 5 minutes later, 5 minutes, I get a call from the housing department from this insurance company. We want to put you up and we'll take care of it. And not only that, Sharina's here. She offered to have her company come in and have it renovated. So, everything started to fall into place. Absolutely everything. And I could feel and I wrote back to this insurance guy. This was all during breakfast, so Janet was with me. I write back and I said, I am so calm now. He said, you just dry those tears. And this is an insurance guy. And then I thought to myself, I'm very attached to this home, but maybe I shouldn't be. But maybe it's time. So I said, all right. I'm letting go. I don't want to let go. But the soul, so I said to heaven, that's it. I never argue with you. I will never argue with you. I may not like the signal, but if you're telling me it's time and this is the way you're going to uproot, take it away. Okay? So when you go into your first chakra, when your soul goes in and it says, we're going to have to do some renovating here, and you may have to leave where you are. So we're going to do this. And one of the things you have to know is when your soul takes over, your ego will often say, oh my God. And you have to let your ego have that pissy fit. But then you have to take charge of that part of yourself. Do you understand? And part of taking charge is getting yourself up to a level. Yank yourself by your neck if you have to. Your fifth chakra. Yank yourself. Here. This is choice. Yank yourself. It is up to you how you see something, not someone else. It is never and will never be up to anybody else. What's the only occupant of your body is you. I'll get to companions. I haven't forgotten a thing. But this way of living, the decision to say, my soul is reconstructing something. Not everybody will understand that. So Teresa of Avila said, you're going to reach a point in your inner life when you're going to make a choice. I want to see the world through what my soul is up to. I want to understand it that way. Most people understand it through the ego. So when things happen, oh my God, what's happening? Blah, 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 blah. How could it happen to me? And your ego will go and search. Will go in a search and destroy mission. Who can I destroy? Who can I punish? Because I'm so unhappy. And then you have to have all of these support groups to insist that your poor woundedness is so awful. Yada, 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 yada. And you should be listened to 3 times, and after that, your friend should go like this. Enough. Enough. Now I'm only going to listen to what you're going to do to get out, not what got you in. And if you don't have a map to get your power back, I'm not listening. I listened to how you got disempowered. Now I'm going to listen to how you get empowered. And if you don't come with that map, I am not going to be your audience. That's my gift to you. Are you with me? That's how you shift from your ego to your soul. That's the shift. The ego will tell the story of how it lost power. The soul gives you the map of how it tends to empower.